Hi, everyone. My name is Jonah Katz, and today I'm going to be presenting on the year that only had 355 days. Now, if you're thinking, how is this possible? Years only have 365 or 366 days. Well, we'll talk about that. Before I start, I just want to mention that I'm going to be using a news article to explain this topic, but I'm not going to be reading the article word for word. I am going to have parts of the article on each slide. So you can always pause the video if you want to read the full article, or if it's too small for you and you don't want and you can't zoom in, you can always you can go to Google and just search up this title, the year that only had 355 days, and a Forbes.com article should come up, and that is the article that I'm using. So let's get started. So the introduction to the article starts by just talking about how we're comfortable with small tweaks to a year, like a leap day, which is February 29th every 4 years. One other one that I found interesting was a leap second, which is when the time goes from 11:59:59 to 11:59:60, and 60 seconds, and then goes to midnight. So I thought that was really interesting. But in 1582 is the most notable tweak, when the calendar went, as you can see here, from Thursday, October 4th to Friday, October 15th. And this was because the Gregorian calendar was shortened at that point. And we talked about the history of the Gregorian calendar in class, but the roots of it can be traced back to something like, I don't know if we mentioned this point in particular, but it was traced back to around 2700 BCE, when the Egyptian civil calendar was created. And the rest of this, the article that's on the slide, the rest of the article that's on the slide just goes through background information. So the papal authorities in this, with this Gregorian calendar, decided to move the year slightly. So so the March equinox would fall around the 20th of the month. And if you think about it, the spring equinox is on March 20th or March 21st. So that's how our current season calendar was created. And this was done to simplify the calculation of the date of Easter, so that it would be falling at the same point in the astronomical year that it had in the time of Jesus. So the 10 days to be dropped by the papal fiat were chosen to be in early October, which again went from October 4th to October 15th, because there were no significant feast days during that time. And the reform was ordered in February of 1582, and then it happened in October. So there wasn't really a surprise. No one was really blindsided by it. So Protestant nations at the time mostly refused to enact this decision. So for the next couple of centuries, and again, this was in many dates were doubled, reported as Old Style and New Style. And a famous example of this was Isaac Newton marked his birthday on Christmas Day, but many sources, which if you think about the 10 days that were removed, many sources now give it as January 4th, 1643. So it's a different year completely, which I think is very interesting. Britain did not make the switch to the Gregorian calendar, and this just has some information about how it politically worked, but they eventually did change in 1752. And by the time Stanhope, and this is in part the Parliament in Britain, they needed, by the time that this was approved, they needed to drop 11 days, but not 10, because 1700 had been a leap year in the Julian system, but not the Gregorian, meaning that September 2nd, 1752 was followed by September 14th in areas under British control. Again, the article says that it went remarkably smoothly, but something else. There was a political slogan that was made in William Hogarth's a satirical painting series, Humors of an Election. So people were able to make a joke out of it. The last European holdout of this was Tsarist Russia, and they didn't switch until 1917. So I mean, I think most of us learned even history before then. So just think about how Russia was on a completely different calendar and they were 9 or 10 days off before then. And actually, they were 13 days behind. So just imagine going, if, I mean, no, I don't know if anyone traveled that far around the world, but imagine someone did, they would lose 13 days, which in some cases, I guess is a good thing. But I mean, I would like to have more days than, than there are, but the Gregorian calendar is now pretty much universally agreed upon for international trade purposes. But other countries use different calendars internally as well. So this article was by Chad Orzel, and there's the link, but I know in a video you can't copy the link. So again, as I said, if you just search up the year that only had 355 days, you'll be able to find it. Thank you so much for listening.